Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast, 9 o'clock Wednesday, April 29th. It's amazing, Trev. We're almost to May, almost to your birthday. The time is flying.
Yeah, I forgot about my birthday. Once you get old enough, you don't even really remember it that much anymore. Yeah, so not too far from that. Thanks for the reminder. But
oh yeah, you're gonna get old. You're getting closer to as old as I am. Not quite.
Not quite there, but yeah, the year's already flying by. The NFL draft took place. We're going to talk about that and a few other things this week.
Yeah, absolutely. On the top of our rundown, those of you that have listened over the years know it's one of our favorite subjects and topics to talk about in everyday life. But Zach Bryan concert in Lincoln, Saturday night, rain, thunderstorm, you name it, it was happening. And he is getting, I don't follow a lot of everything that's going on, but even my mother called me and said, you were at that concert, right? And I guess he's getting raked over the coals because he came on way late. He had to leave early. I understand it. I was there. It was rainy. At the end, it was just during revival that it started raining. But I understand a couple of the complaints. He did start, like we were walking in. We went in at about 10 o'clock. And I told Laura that we wouldn't hear, no one would come out until at least 11, just because it was going to be nuts getting in there. Well, he started. It went right to him, which I understand that. So no Kings of Leon, no J.R. Carroll at 10:45. And the place was not very full. But it did end up getting filled up most of the way. There were people that didn't come, and I don't know if it was sold out or not, obviously. But yeah, there were a lot of people that missed a couple songs, and then obviously he had to, out of his set, he didn't play 6 or so songs. Ended with revival. Ended right at about 12:30, which my assumption is, yes, the storm was coming. That's when their noise ordinance probably expired. And for what I have read and heard, that each minute they go past that, they get fined. I'm going to say that was as much to do with it as the thunderstorm.
And yeah, most concerts where these takes place they have to be done by 12:30, like you said. So it's a noise ordinance thing when these guys have to go on late for weather. They typically have to cut their set short. So most of the time it's 12 or 12:30 in most cities I've been to.
Yeah, it was almost 12:30, right on the dot when he was done. I mean, within a couple minutes. I do want to say this. I had not been to Nebraska in a long time, and I hadn't sat in the stands in Nebraska for probably 30 years. I hadn't been to Nebraska in 20 years to the stadium. That place is nice. We got tickets in a suite section, so we could go inside or out, and we were covered. So we didn't get wet at all at the concert. Now, we got wet before and after, but it reminded me of going to United Center, Fiserv Center in Milwaukee, Jerry's World. We had to take an escalator up like 4 levels to get where we were. Obviously, Jack Trice Stadium, you don't have anything like that. Kinnick Stadium, you don't have anything like that. And then also, I heard like on Sunday or maybe Friday night, they announced they're tearing down half the stadium and building it again. So money in their stadium, I don't know when that stadium was built, but it is next level stuff out there, what they are spending. And it's really, really nice. And I know here in Iowa, we make fun of Nebraska and we don't like Nebraska. I get it, but their stadium is really, really nice. Where we were at was, just suite after suite after suite. And you just went down into it, and we had inside bathrooms. We had our own merch area that we could get. And you could go get beer and everything, just right there inside, covered. It was a real deal. I was very, very impressed with the stadium.
Yeah, I haven't been to downtown Lincoln in a long time. What was downtown like before the concert?
It was pretty good. I mean, we didn't get there super early. We probably, I'm trying to think what time we got actually downtown. 2:00, 3:00, 2:00. I don't know, something like that. And we just went to one bar. It was good. We didn't move because we had a big long table. There was a bunch of us there. That was fun as well. Some people from Clow, Andy Kohler. I know you know who he is. Went to Iowa State with him. Then obviously our friends that were with us. Then there's some other people there that I didn't know, which is fine. And no, just good. Downtown's really nice. It's a funny story. I actually turned 21 in downtown Lincoln. Don't remember much of that night. I'll be honest. I don't even know where we went. I don't know anything. But no, I thought it was just really, really well done. They tried to make the best of a really bad situation. I mean, there was heck of a storms before it started, and then right when it was ending was storms again. So, and then the noise ordinance does matter. They were up against it, and people wanting refunds and stuff like I get it, but that is the risk you take when you book an outside concert in April. And he did play. He played for an hour and a half, which for a lot of people, that is a normal set. It's just that's not what you're used to for him.
Yeah, it's just common sense. If you're going to go to something outside, there's a chance you're going to have to deal with the weather. So some people seem to not always quite understand that. I was going to ask you, where did you buy your tickets off of, too, on the app? Obviously, everything worked well with that.
Yeah, we had no problem. Actually, Laura bought them. I actually don't know which one she bought it off of. I would guess SeatGeek or StubHub. Those are the two we usually use. One of those two. And, yeah, we had no problem. It came up right on our phone. We walked right in. No issues at all. Now, we were not near long lines. I think our area, it was kind of funny. We were standing in line, and we're looking around. We're like, we're with a bunch of people our age. It wasn't a bunch of young people around our area and section and in line because they didn't have those seats. So I get it. Maybe we were in a little bit different section than others, but the price really was pretty good. I thought we paid a lot less for those seats than we did for St. Louis when we were down there just a month ago. And I do understand where I'm not as sad and disappointed I didn't see his entire set because I did just see him a month ago. And I think I counted this was my 9th time to see him. So I've seen it and I know what it is. So missing out on a little bit this one, I'm okay with.
Yeah, you've seen him plenty of times. But no, that's good to hear that whatever app you use, that it worked well. I'm thinking about seeing him later this year if I can. So I was a little bit nervous of what app to go through, but I think now for this tour, it probably really doesn't matter as long as you use one of the main ones, StubHub, SeatGeek, any of those.
Yeah, and then obviously my St. Louis one I got through the pre-sale, and that was just Ticketmaster. It's still funny that he that tour album, we all hate Ticketmaster, but to still order the tickets you have to use through him. It's still Ticketmaster.
Yeah, no kidding. I sucked I couldn't make it. Some work stuff came up, but glad you guys all had a good time. The hotel, obviously, everything must have went well because I didn't get any calls and anything didn't go.
Nope. The room was great. Thanks, Trev. The only issue is, so our hotel was several miles away outside of downtown. It wasn't right downtown, so we had to get an Uber back, and that was a cluster. But that's just they need to figure out Uber more like a taxi where they just line them up. You don't have to reserve them or anything, but this is the Uber pickup spot. And like the driver has a QR code that, when it's your turn, a driver puts his phone in a QR code, you select it, you pay him for the ride. I mean, I'm not saying don't pay it. And then you go instead of reserving it and they got to come find you and things like that. That's something that for situations like that where there's 90,000 people, all kinds of Ubers are needed. There's people everywhere. They've got half the streets blocked off within a 4-block radius, which I understand as well. It's not good. And I think there are better ways to just line up the Ubers and then you just pay them for the drive. You essentially stand in line, and when it's your turn, you pay the guy or the gal that's driving the Uber and take you where you need to go, and then they just drive right back.
Big events like this, you almost got to walk 8 or 10 blocks away and find a bar to sit at for a while, and then wait for the crowd to die down. Then you can order one where they're not picking you up right by the stadium or the venue.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And so we walked down to the Embassy Suites and finally figured out a ride home. But it was well past the concert and stuff. Which I mean, I knew that, and that's just part of it.
Well, good. No, glad everything went well. And then also this past weekend, we had the NFL draft, the Super Bowl that I like of the offseason. So took place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That had approximately 805,000 fans. I'm sure you saw a lot of videos and clips from the NFL draft. So it just continues to grow. The NFL, they're pushing globally. You see all the fans from different parts of the world announcing picks in different languages, all those types of things. And next year it's going to take place in Washington, D.C., and there's also rumors that 28 might take place in Minneapolis. So they're going to keep moving this thing around and keep getting massive crowds, spreading it worldwide, and just trying to gain more non-domestic fans.
Yeah. What they say, there's like 320,000 people there this weekend.
805 through the 3 days.
Well, maybe it was just 320 that first night. Something like that. So, yeah, it's crazy. We talk about it over and over and over. The NFL almost never makes a mistake, and whatever they do, it works, and they dominate the weekend. Just the tweaks they made, just 8 minutes instead of 10 minutes for the first round, just made it that much faster. Was a great decision. Obviously, just the 3 days. The NFL knows what they're doing. It's never. There was a guy out of Des Moines that he was picked to go there for the Chiefs. I think Brett said he had one of his golfers head out there to Pittsburgh to watch it. I mean, when there's people from Iowa traveling to Pittsburgh for the draft, it's not like it's in Vegas or Nashville or a city that is known for gathering parties, things to do. I don't know, you don't just say, hey, let's go for the weekend in Pittsburgh very often, I don't think, if you live in Iowa.
No, Pittsburgh is a good distance away. It's not like going to Omaha or Kansas City or something.
Right.
That's a little bit more understandable. So I think Green Bay had 600,000 approximately. Pittsburgh got to 805. Yeah, for people from Iowa, all the states were going. So that's pretty cool that you guys knew some people that went to that. I've still never been. Someday I'd like to go, depending on where they move it to over the years and where I'm at with work. It'd be fun to go for a day. But yeah, the 8 minutes certainly sped up the pace. The problem with that, though, is this is one of the few events left in the world where the TV coverage is well behind the picks.
Right.
So if you're on Twitter, now I haven't been on Twitter since like 2018 or something crazy like that.
Right.
But if you're online, you can find out the picks before they're announced on TV. So
yeah.
I didn't have that problem because I like the suspense.
Yep.
I went all year for this, so I stay off my phone. I'm not on the internet or anything like that. But I know some people, they can't stay off Twitter, so they get tipped the picks, a minute or two before the TV announces, and that's one thing that they're going to have to try to get fixed somehow. And the reason that happens is these teams have to announce the pick, and then inside the league, all the teams are alerted of what player has been taken. That way, they have time to make their trades or do whatever they need to do when it's their turn. So that's one little issue that the NFL's got to get fixed. I don't know the exact answer to that, but I'm sure they're looking into it.
Yeah, I did see that, like, when a trade happens, it's crazy that the trade happens and then the next pick is already made during that trade. Like, say Pittsburgh trades with Miami and Miami's a new pick. Like, when the trade is announced, Miami's made their pick already. And it's in the trade document or form, whatever they have to send to the NFL. And you're right, it does go to every team, so they know what's happened so they can adjust their board and then make whatever corresponding decision they need to make or want to make.
Yeah, that's right. And not all, but most of the trades that take place in the first round and yeah, mostly the first round, I would say. The later rounds, those take place kind of in real time. But most of the trades in the first round are already agreed upon before the draft starts. And like the Chiefs and the Browns, they probably had an agreement in place. The Chiefs called the Browns and said, hey, if one of our players falls to 6, here's a package we're willing to offer you to move up. And when Mansour Delane was there at 6, they called Cleveland up real quick and said, hey, we're still on for the trade, are you? Obviously, the Browns agreed. They swapped, made the trade, and the Chiefs made their pick. So a lot of times those trades are worked out beforehand. That way, nobody's scrambling at the last minute.
Right. The only thing that changes them is if the guy they want isn't there, got already picked or whatever. They're contingent. You're still drafting the player, not the draft. Even though officially you're switching draft picks, you actually are getting a player. And, like you said, if that player was already picked, then they wouldn't make the trade because not necessarily anyway.
Yeah, if Cleveland was on the clock, they could have called up Kansas City. If Kansas City didn't call them and said, hey, do you still want this pick? The Chiefs would have been like, nope, our 3 guys that we wanted are gone. So you guys go ahead. We're going to stick at 9. And then that would have taken place. So, yeah, a lot of these trades are already, the formalities are already worked out. They have an agreement if they both want to move. And then, things change, of course, with the draft and trades. But obviously the big topic is Ty Simpson going to the Rams. Not as much of a surprise to me because early in the year and a lot of the mock drafts, a lot of people had the Rams taking Ty Simpson. Now, as we got closer to the draft, Ty Simpson moved closer and closer out of the first round into the second. But if you were paying attention to mock drafts early in the year, during the college football season and toward the end, Ty Simpson was mocked to the Rams in a lot of them. So I wasn't quite as surprised, but I think a lot of people that started paying attention a week or two before the draft started didn't think that was a possibility.
Could they have waited till the second round to pick him, or would he have been gone?
Well, you had the Jets, the Steelers, and then you would have had the Cardinals in front of you in the second round.
Right.
So those are the 3 teams you would have had to really worry about.
Yeah. The biggest thing, like you said, is it a shock that they draft Ty Simpson? Absolutely not. I mean, I don't overall know. Stafford's every year could be his last. But what surprised me is, and maybe it was kind of a play or whatever, but McVay seemed like he didn't want him. That's what's weird. It's not that they actually drafted him. It's just that it sure seemed like the coach didn't want him.
Yeah, McVay's body language in that interview, it did not look good. I have to agree with you and everybody else on that. Typically he's upbeat, he's excited. All sorts of Rams fans said they've never seen him like that. And then the past couple of days, whether it's truthfully or whether it's damage control, whatever, he's been going and doing a bunch of interviews trying to smooth it over. But you kind of understand it from both sides. Even if he did want that pick, he doesn't necessarily want to be jumping for joy because he's still got to deal with Matt Stafford for at least 1 to 2 more years.
Right.
And we've seen Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre get ticked off from when the Packers took Rodgers when Favre was on the team still, and then when the Packers took Jordan Love. We saw Tom Brady get a little bit defensive when they brought in Jimmy G. Right. Big Ben got mad about Mason Rudolph. So these quarterbacks, they don't like when their heir apparent is being drafted, even if they're old. There's still a pride and there's still whatever you want to call it involved. So it's a delicate situation.
And I understand what they're doing. They're going to. Salary cap is not going great for them right now just because they've tried to win and they have won. And then Stafford could go at any time. And then you've heard that Sean McVay could go at any time. I mean, there's a rumor almost every year that he could just hang her up and go to do TV or whatever, that he doesn't want to deal with the NFL and stuff as much as others would like to. So, yeah, he's getting drafted there, and he may be in for a world of hurt next year if Stafford and McVay leave. I'm like, what the heck? It just happened.
Yeah, if McVay didn't really like him, and let's just say the Rams win the Super Bowl this year, and Stafford retires, and McVay says, okay, that's it. I'm going to take a year or 2 off. I mean, think of where McVay could go in maybe 3 years. What if Andy Reid retires?
Yeah.
And he could go coach Patrick Mahomes for the end of his career. What if the Bills have an opening in a few years? Their new coach doesn't work out. He could go coach Josh Allen. So McVay could take a year or two off, and he'd be the hottest thing that every team would want him, and he'd have his pick of what team he wanted to go. Which most likely, there's a good chance that Andy Reid would be retired around that time.
Yeah, I'd say that's, and it doesn't happen very often, but I could see would McVay go to Kansas City just because, even if he's still the coach of the Rams, and just I'm out and go to Kansas City. I don't know. It doesn't happen very often in the NFL, but you'd sure, if you're Chiefs, you got to make the call, don't you?
Yeah, it depends on his contract. And then, if he's still under contract with the Rams, the Chiefs would have to trade some draft picks to get him. Mm-hmm. That would be a little bit more complicated. But if he retired and his contract expired, then I believe obviously he could sign with whatever team he wanted. But yeah, it's a delicate situation. People are going to argue about this one for a long time. For Ty Simpson, we're not going to know for quite a while, because Stafford, he could play 2 more years. He's the MVP of the league this last year. As long as he stays healthy, 1 more year for sure, and maybe 2. So we might not see Ty Simpson play a lot outside of preseason until 3 or 4 years from now.
Yeah, and you don't want to yet. Matthew Stafford, they still should be right there in the division, and then you get to the playoffs and you win a game and you're playing well, and all of a sudden you win 2, and now you're there. So, and that's just the NFL. So, yeah, I'd say they're not out of it. They've got a good enough team to win it all if things break their way. And they're not way down in the barrel looking up at very many teams.
No, they're not. I believe they were the favorite going into the draft for the Super Bowl. I believe they still are. Yeah. And a lot of people haven't taken a receiver. I think if they hadn't gone quarterback, I think they would have gone offensive line or a defensive player in that position. McVay understands the importance of drafting big guys or defensive guys early. And the Rams have a good history of finding receivers later in the draft with Kupp, Puka Nacua, and some others. So they got C.J. Daniels later in the draft. I think that could be a good pickup for them. They've proven to have a good record of getting later receivers. So that was the big surprise. Dan Orlovsky, maybe you've seen some clips of him the past month, him saying that he thought Ty Simpson was the best quarterback, and then he was on McAfee's show and the pick came in and he got to do a little bit of a victory lap. So Orlovsky, he's a good character. He says some wild stuff, but he's entertaining. And that was, for a moment, that was a victory lap for him.
He was the quarterback when the Lions went over, right?
Yeah, he ran out of the back of the end zone and got that safety.
Yeah. but he's good on TV. And he was an NFL quarterback. That's still pretty freaking good. And then I like your next one. Downs falls to the Cowboys. I believe I said it last week. He's the best football player in the draft. He's going to do really well for the Cowboys. He's one heck of a player, I think. I think that is a steal. They drafted the best player available. Always love that. More and more teams need to do that. I think more teams are doing that. When he falls right to you, you draft him. It is what you might have had somebody else, but when you're a player is that good, has been that productive, you cannot pass him. And the Cowboys did a great job.
Yeah, he's a need, and he was the best player available. So that's a 2-for-1 right there. So he's probably gonna be the captain of their defense by his second year, if not this year at some point. So he's gonna come in and take control. I really like the rest of their draft too. Cowboys, as much crap as we give them and Jerry Jones, they do a pretty good job of drafting in the first round actually over the years. They do a good job scouting. Now Caleb Downs was kind of an easy one.
Yep.
Not that you or I could have made that pick in that position, but good for the Cowboys. That sometimes a player falls to you and you just have to take advantage of it. It's not, sometimes you get lucky, right? The ball bounces your way. And for the Cowboys, Caleb Downs fell right down to him. They had to jump up one spot, no big deal. It's well worth it to go get one of, if not the best football player in the entire draft.
Yeah, I love watching him play. You probably saw this, but they had Saban and Coach Ryan Day, coach, talking on the set, and I can't remember who asked him, but they asked Day, how it was coaching Downs, and he goes, I just was surprised that he came to us and didn't have a clue on how to play football. Saban sitting right next to him, and obviously he was very much joking, and they started laughing and stuff. And then you talk about, no, he came in, he was ready, and he just The only thing different is he just got a couple years older and just continued to get better and better because he works his butt off. But I just thought that was really funny. He's like, man, I don't know what they're teaching down there in Alabama. I just don't get it. He was really, really good, but he doesn't know a thing. I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah, no, that was good. Those two going back and forth there. Speaking of the Alabama players, I didn't have it written down, but Caden Proctor being taken by the Miami Dolphins. I actually like the Dolphins draft outside of the Proctor pick, but you even heard Saban and some of these other coaches go, yeah, Proctor, he's a mammoth, but when he wants to be, and that's not you don't typically hear that out of former coaches live on TV for a draft. So the fact that they were kind of criticizing him and kind of calling him lazy at times is basically what they were saying. That's concerning.
Yeah, I think the quote was he's not a go-getter or something like that. I mean, I can't remember.
Yep.
I mean, that might have been it, but yeah, that's not. And we talked about it last week. 385 pounds in the combine, but then on pro days 365. Well, so he has it in him. It's just want to and care and yeah. I mean, athletically, he's as good as there is. He's a huge human being. He's got it all. It's just all upstairs and want to. And you worry about that because yes, now you do have a little bit of evidence of guys having money now. Sometimes you always worry about, hey, when they get that first check, are they going to blow it or do something stupid or they don't know how to handle it? Well, now, these first round draft pick guys are getting paid and paid very well. So I don't know if you have to worry about that as much. Someone might actually be taking a pay cut to go to the NFL. And so I do think that is one good factor in them getting paid is they do have a year or 2 or 3 or 4 years of now getting paid and having to live the life of having money and making decisions with having money and staying out of trouble.
Yeah, a lot of these players, they make a lot of money in college where, back in the day, they may have gotten a brown bag of 10 or 20,000, which don't get me wrong, that's a ton of money, but they're making real time money now. So,
yeah, it's not what they're making now.
It's not what they're making now. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that as much. But with Caden Proctor, him being a bigger guy, any offensive lineman, I mean, you always worry about the weight a little bit. And again, you said it, a go-getter. That was the term that was used. So that's a little bit concerning for the Dolphins. If he hits, he's a mammoth. But outside of that, they probably would have cracked my top 10. But I did have him probably in my top 15 favorite drafts. I thought they got a lot of good players later on. But yeah, just speaking of Saban and Bama, that was one guy I thought we should talk about briefly.
Yeah, and that's it's relevant. He's from Southeast Polk High School. Supposed to be a Hawkeye twice and told him to kick rocks to go play at Alabama. And a lot of people around here wish him nothing but bad luck.
Well, if he's on the Dolphins, there's a good chance that bad luck might be heading his way. So we'll have to see how that goes. Kind of moving down the line. The Steelers, I like the Steelers draft. I typically do most years. Really, they had a couple stories with their first round pick, of course, getting jumped by the Eagles, but then they took Drew Aller in the third. I don't, I'm not as high on Drew Aller as some, but I don't mind them throwing a dart at the dartboard. They obviously have Will Howard on the team already. I'm guilty of this, but a lot of NFL people have come out and said, listen, yeah, Will Howard's on the team. He was a 6th round draft pick. 6th round draft picks are not handed the keys to the franchise. Just here you go. It's your team. Now they may get there by injury or poor play and just put in the starting lineup, but they're not going to go into the season saying, well, Mr. 6th round pick, you're our guy. They were going to draft a guy and then, potentially bring back Aaron Rodgers or another veteran. So yeah, this was not a surprise, but the Steelers draft overall, it was a lot of offense, and it's a culture shift now with Mike McCarthy, who's an offensive coach, which I think it's long overdue for the Steelers. So I like their draft. I like him taking a chance. He played at Penn State, so he's he's familiar with the state. They're in Pennsylvania, local kid, at least at college. I don't know where he went in high school, but I like the Steelers taking a chance. It's a 3rd round pick.
I think he's an Ohio guy because I think he wanted to go to Ohio State. I'm not even 100% sure he's not a Columbus, Ohio guy.
You might be right on that. So, Steelers, they got 2 quarterbacks now, and then they put some clause on Rodgers the other day. So, Aaron, he's going to drag this out. My guess he comes back for one more year. But, again, he's an old quarterback, so even if Rodgers does come back, there's still a chance we're going to see Drew Aller or Will Howard play some meaningful minutes this coming season.
Oh, I no doubt in my mind. Now Rodgers is as tough as nails. He stays out there, for as much as him and Favre are not alike personality wise, they are a lot alike as a football player. They don't sit out. They want it all about them. They stick it out, go to different teams. They don't want to retire. They get their feelings hurt. I mean, maybe they're just the same human. Heck, I don't know.
They're the same but total opposites,
right?
If that makes sense. But yeah, when it's the off season, it's the off season, and they're going to be gone. But once the season gets close, they want to play in the games. So that's what all these players and quarterbacks want. They all want to skip the camps and the practices, and they don't want to do that. They just want to be around for the bus rides and the 17 weeks of play is really all they want. And ideally, that's what all really NFL players want. You get paid just to play in the games and hang out. But there's a little bit more to it when you get to the point where Favre was, Rodgers, Brady. You have some more freedom. But I did like the Steelers, really going heavy on offense. And obviously, it helps that they drafted everyone's kind of favorite player, Dunker, in the draft, and then also Weegan in the fourth, which was a little higher than I expected. But I did hear some rumors that he was climbing up. It's a little bit weaker draft this year, so good for the Steelers. They got a heck of a return guy and maybe a depth player, wide receiver, gadget player for him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you just kind of line up anywhere and motion him back to the backfield, motion him out, and he's just he's just a threat. If you give him the ball, get the ball to him, make one guy miss, he's gone. I mean, he's that quick. He's going to be gone in the NFL too. That doesn't change when you get to the NFL because he's that quick.
Yeah, Pittsburgh Hawkeyes, lots of Hawkeyes on that team now. So that probably definitely helped them kind of be one of my more favorite drafts. But I really the overall thing with the Steelers though is they went heavy offense, and I thought it was time for that.
And speaking of the Hawkeyes, let's kind of interject. It's right with kind of is an all-time draft for the Hawkeyes. 7 Hawkeyes drafted, I believe most ever for the Hawkeyes, and for sure the most that Ferentz has ever had in his time. One of the most ever. I mean, even Alabama and them, they don't have 7 people drafted that many years. They do. The difference is they might have 4 guys go in the first round. Is the difference that Alabama or Ohio State or whatever. But 7 Hawkeyes. And I listened to Travis and Ross in the morning, and they were talking about, well, does it matter? And the answer is yes. But Ross made a great point. It doesn't really matter. I want to win a Big Ten championship. I want to win a national championship. I want to get to the playoffs. So it's all fun and games to get people drafted, but it's time to win football games and win football games that matter. And I see both sides of the story. I mean, it's awesome when you're developing players and getting a bunch of guys to the NFL. But I also understand his frustration that the Hawkeyes are really good, but there's another level that they're not at, and he wants them to get to them. And that's the difference when Ohio State has 4 players drafted in the first round and the Hawks, don't. They have 1 guy every 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, I think Iowa had 7 guys drafted and then another 6 or 7 signed as free agents. So, yeah, I mean, that's, typically Iowa's going to put about 8 or 10 guys in the NFL, not all draft picks, but they're going to sign draft free agents. We all know it's really just because of the quarterback and the receivers skill position that Iowa's been behind on over the years. But it does seem like they're starting to make some slight improvements the past couple of years on offense. Obviously, we know the linemen, tight ends, and really defensive position all around. I mean, it's not just D linemen or linebackers. They have a lot of corners and safeties in the NFL. It's really the missing key. We talk about during the college football season. It's quarterback and receivers. It's the passing game. That's really the only thing missing from the Iowa program as far as translating to the NFL and also translating to bigger and more wins during the college football season.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to throw the ball to a guy and go score a touchdown. And they just don't do that sometimes. I mean, like Iowa State a few years ago and, give the ball to Breece Hall, throw the ball to, Lazard, receivers that are NFL. Hakeem Butler, things like that, guys that have bounced around the NFL a little bit. And then obviously, Brock Purdy, who is a Super Bowl quarterback. That doesn't hurt anything.
No, it certainly helps. So we'll see with Iowa with their little bit of a transition more to a modern offense. Speaking of the NFL changing though offenses, we got just a couple topics left here on the NFL, but a bunch of tight ends winning this draft, an insane amount, and the NFL is cyclical, and now the NFL is getting back to more 12 and 13 personnel. The running game's making a return. There was about a 5 or 10 year stretch where it was all passing, and it was just airing it out. Now teams are playing 2 high safeties. So really, tight ends are more valuable now than they've ever been, because if you get a really good tight end, yes, they can go out and catch. They're a mismatch problem, but they can also block. Now, take a look at George Kittle. He's going to make $14 million this year. I know he's a little bit injury prone. Compared to Jamar Chase, who's going to make $26 million. If both are healthy and both play 17 games, there's an argument that George Kittle is a more valuable player.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he can catch and block.
And less money.
Yep. So he's going to make $12 million less this year than Jamar Chase. Well, you can spend that $12 million on other parts of your roster. So there's value now in tight ends, running backs, safeties, guards, some of these positions that haven't quite gotten paid over the last number of years. That's where the value is. If you can have good depth there. We saw the Bears take another tight end. Kmet might be out after next year, so they're going to run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. The tight ends in the running game are making a comeback.
100% agree with that. And again, it's Moneyball situation. Quarterbacks are demanding this amount. Receivers are demanding this amount. Left tackles, those are your kind of 3 positions. Your defensive end rush guys are demanding a lot. And you got to find value somewhere, and tight end right now seems to be the value play.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And, I wrote down that, and I'm going to use the Bears as an example here of why GMs, coaches, and the teams, they would like to have the draft first and then free agency. We know with Drew Dahlman retiring for the Bears, they kind of had to act quickly to go get a center, and they traded for Garrett Bradbury from the Patriots. Well, then in the second round, they draft Logan Jones out of Iowa. A lot of Bears fans are complaining about that. But listen, when the retirement took place, the Bears had to do something. They knew they weren't getting Linderbaum in free agency because of their cap situation. So do you take a chance and just hope you can get someone in the draft, or do you go, hey, we can trade for Bradbury. Let's just get it done now and plug a hole. And then the draft happens. Logan Jones is the top guy on their board at that pick. And, Bradbury, he may just be a 1-year rental. Right. Or maybe Logan Jones beats him out and you have a good backup. Yeah, right now they have, potentially 2 really good centers, but you're only 1 injury away from only having 1 good center.
Right. Yeah. And then, especially with a Logan Jones and young guys, maybe a movie. And if they really are that good, and Bradbury is good enough, but like you said, I think that's a 1-year rental guy. And then hopefully Logan Jones takes that over after next year.
Yeah, and if Bradbury starts the season, great. If Logan Jones beats him out, that's fine too. But, it's not bad to have depth. I mean, ideally, looking back, would they have made the trade for Bradbury now? No. But they didn't know how the draft was going to play out and all of free agency. So sometimes you have to do what's best for the team at the moment. Not everybody has a crystal ball. So you don't know how the draft is going to go. They took the best player available there with Logan Jones, and potentially they have 2 good centers this year, and going into next year, Bradbury will probably be gone, and potentially Cole Kmet could be gone too. So the rosters are ever changing. It's not just about the upcoming season.
And that's what I was listening to a guy in Chicago, kind of recapping the draft and stuff, and he's like, these Bears they're not playing for 2026. This coaching staff, this regime definitely is, yes, do they want to win right now? They want to win every game, every time. But they also understand you can't go all in on this year, and then in 3 years you're done. You got no chance. And then you got to start over. So that's drafting Logan Jones, even if he doesn't play a lot this year. Drafting the tight end, even if he doesn't play much this year. Like you said, in 2 or 3 years, those 2 are starting tight end and starting center, this draft looks a whole lot better than it does today.
Yeah, and let's go to their first round pick. I mean, they got, in my opinion, a little bit of a steal, Dylan Thineman out of Oregon. I think
they didn't think he was going to be there. Yeah.
No, he was projected really to go probably 17-ish or 18-ish to the Minnesota Vikings. So he fell just a little bit, not too far. But I think Bears fans are going to love him. He's a playmaker. He's going to be all over the field. So I do think Bears fans, once the season starts, they're going to be pretty happy about that draft pick.
Yeah, that one, it's one of those, it's kind of like Caleb Downs. Did you think he was going to be there? Probably not. But when he keeps dropping right to you, you just have to make the pick. He's too good to pass up and a little bit injury prone, but he's a really good player when he's out there.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. Next week, I'll probably send you maybe the top 10 or maybe a top 15 too early mock draft. I did want to just go over a few names. Everybody knows about Arch Manning for next year. Dante Moore out of Oregon, CJ Carr, Notre Dame. Those are a few big names at the quarterback position. But there's some others. I mean, you got Jaden Maiava at USC, Sam Levitt, LSU, Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, Hoover at Indiana, Mestmaker at Okie State, and then one guy that we got to talk about here who's in some trouble, Brendon Sorsby at Texas Tech. He's projected first round pick, maybe even top 10, and he's in some real trouble right now.
And it may not affect his NFL future, but I think it's going to affect his upcoming season in college football. It's came out that he went into gambling rehab or whatever, and I do think that is a little bit just trying to save face. And if he really does have a problem, then that's a real problem. One thing it's a little bit amazing how much information they've leaked out because they want it out there. And I think they're trying to show that this guy has a problem, not so much just that he's making bets, but they said he went to a Cincinnati Reds game and bet on every pitch. So he made like 500 bets in one night with, balls and strikes and props and game wagers and stuff, which that's what's going to get him is the amount of money and the number of bets that were made. And then also it goes all the way back to 2022 when he was at Indiana, which a lot of people don't even remember. He started at Indiana and was redshirting and made a bet on Indiana. And thinking of how long ago that was, that's actually before Hunter Deckers got in trouble for making the bets at Iowa State, or the Iowa guys got in trouble for making, like Noah Shannon and those guys. Now, the bets that those players were making and they got in trouble for in 23 were before Sorsby was at Indiana, but the punishment was actually after. And it's amazing the amount of people that are forgetting what happened to Iowa and Iowa State in the national sense. Somebody wrote that this is the first major college football's cheating or gambling scandal, and there's been a lot of pushback. No, it's not. Now, it's a little bit more prevalent because of who it is and what it is. And this kind of goes back to what type of guy they are with the money they have. The rumor number that he got from Texas Tech is $5 million. And if I'm Texas Tech and I didn't know about this is a bad deal. And I want no part of this paying him money. And I don't know how all this works. Surely there's clauses where you got to be eligible in the NCAA and stuff like that. But it might be like a Proctor deal where the money he's already gotten or money he's already received, you might have a hard time getting it back from him. And then also the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is Cincinnati's suing him for money on contracts that he signed going back, that Cincinnati leaked this. And then there's some even go deeper conspiracy. It might be Indiana. And Cincinnati might get in trouble with this deal because they might have known about it. And then they would have played a player that is ineligible. And so I like the joke today on one of the Iowa State podcasts, Iowa State might pick up a couple more wins because we got some wins. Well, we really didn't get wins, but we don't have the losses we did with the Iowa situation on having to forfeit a few games. Now Cincinnati has to forfeit with Sorsby. Iowa State might their record keeps improving without doing anything.
That's one way to do it. I mean, this Sorsby thing, this is the good and the bad. This is the bad, I should say, of sports gambling and kids getting paid in college. As you mentioned, Iowa and Iowa State have seen this long before this took place. So yeah, it's a bad deal for him. I don't know if he's going to be even allowed to play. And then, like you said, how much money has he already received from Texas Tech? How much can they get back? How's that all going to work? He's in rehab right now. Really, from a football perspective, if you're a backup at a major college and you don't think you're going to play this year, do you start making some calls and reaching out to Texas Tech and saying, "Hey, I might be willing to come play there and come try out. What kind of money can you offer me?"
Well, and that's the problem is there is no spring transfer portal like there has been in the past. The only portal was in January, so nobody can do that.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Good point. Yep.
Yeah, if this was the last few years, this wouldn't be as big a deal because the problem too is Morton, their backup quarterback, tore his ACL and isn't projected to be ready for the start of the season. So Texas Tech, a team that is expecting to go undefeated again this year, spending all kinds of money on their team, might be starting the season off with a third-string quarterback. And looking at what happened in the playoff last year, they had a good enough team to win it in that game and win maybe multiple games, but they didn't have a good enough quarterback / running back, because their running back tore his ACL as well, to win a game in the playoff. And it was very, very disappointing. And now they're going right back to the well where they might not have a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, if right now is probably the time if you want to look at some futures, BYU, Utah, Houston, K-State, bet on a different team to win the Big 12 in football.
Absolutely. Those teams are like, hey, boys, we got a better chance. Yeah, I mean,
I'm looking at Oklahoma State at 27-1 with, that new coaching staff and all the players coming over. If it's 80% of what Indiana did, they could win the Big 12.
Oh, absolutely, they could. If that quarterback and coach is as good as everybody thinks they are, they're going to win a lot of football games. Yeah.
So I mean, if you like to do futures, or if you're someone that wants to maybe do 3 or 4 team parlay of who's going to make the playoffs, well, you can, it's worth the risk to maybe take Texas Tech out of that now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's because Texas Tech is the team, and you hate doing this, and it is. I do it a lot, and I get made fun of. But if Texas Tech goes and wins games in the playoffs and get to the championship game like TCU did a few years ago, that helps the Big 12 straight up money-wise. You get more money when you win more games. And that in turn, yes, it might only be $500,000 more, but that's another player. That's another basketball player. That's another lineman. That's another player that you can pay as part of your athletic department that you don't have to raise the money for or use it for other. So when the Big 12 does better in every sport, it helps. And so right now, I don't believe Iowa State's in a position to get to the playoff and win games. So as a member of the Big 12, we need our Big 12 family to do really well without us right now until we can give us a year or two, and we'll try to do our part. Like we've been real close in the last 5 years under Campbell, but we're not there right now. We need our conference to pick us up a little bit.
Yeah, this is a blow to the Big 12 because Texas Tech was obviously the clear favorite. They made it last year. They were the favorite to make it again this year to represent the Big 12 in football, and the Big 12 needed that. So not to say that they can't still get there and do some work, but this is a blow to Texas Tech and the Big 12 a little bit. But it opens up the door for another team to get in now.
Yeah, now you got those teams you said: Utah, BYU, Kansas State with Colin Klein, Houston. I don't believe Arizona State's going to be there, but they've got to think they got a chance. Arizona was trajectories going up. I mean, those 5-6 teams, and you might not have to go undefeated / one loss. Now it might be kind of like when Iowa State made it, where 3 teams are 9-3, and then it just goes to the tiebreaker, and then whoever gets the, I mean, it's not quite luck of the draw, but just draws the right straw.
Yeah, they could end up working like that. So, here we are talking about odds to win the Big 12, and then we got this kid in college, the quarterback of the team. He's in trouble for gambling, but it doesn't. We're not in trouble for talking about it. We'll talk about all we want. It doesn't. We're not college athletes, so yeah, it's a fine line that these college athletes have to walk, and I'm sure every sports program is telling their team, showing this team this story, talking about it, and no matter how many coaches and personnel show their teams, there's still going to be stories that come out like this every single year, because there's still going to be young athletes that, whether they're smart or they just make bad decisions, they're going to get themselves in trouble no matter what. You can't protect everybody.
Right. All right. What's next on our list? I know that kind of was off our.
Well, the last thing on the draft, I did a draft contest, and there were 785 people in it.
Okay.
I finished 14th place.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. I won some money, but the real money was in the top 10.
So close.
What really lost me, and a lot of people in the top 10, they had Ty Simpson's over under at 20.5, and I bet the over. So that one cost me. Plus, a couple others that could have gone either way. But I got 14th out of 785. I was pretty happy with that. And then, of course, like I said, Big Iona under 14.5. I told you that was my one big bet this year. He went number 14, so I hit on that one just in the nick of time. And he went to the Ravens, where everybody was kind of mocking him too. So I didn't have quite as many bets as last year, but the one I really felt good about did hit. So who knows? Maybe next year I'll have 8 or 10 bets, or maybe it'll just be one. We'll see what next year brings.
Right, and that's awesome, Trev, and that's just one thing, especially with Thursday night I was at a track meet. Friday night I didn't do much, and then Saturday obviously driving over to Lincoln and doing all that. So I didn't follow the draft as closely as I should have, and did. But I know you always do really well with that and everything. And but I always just like reading the recaps, like on Sunday, the national writers, give the Bears it doesn't matter what they actually got, but just all the teams are great. And then usually like Monday, they go back and, the 2021 draft, if they had to re-rank them, those are the ones I really like to see.
Yeah, the re-ranking ones are good. The people that actually go back, and then sometimes they do the redrafts, who would have the teams taken. Those are more fun than the instant grades. I think I saw Mike Greenberg. I didn't listen to it. It was just I saw a headline. He said that the Ty Simpson was a terrible pick. Well, yeah, I mean, for this year, it doesn't really do anything for the Rams. But in 6 or 7 years, if he wins in the Super Bowl, that's going to be one hell of a pick. So, yeah, the grades right after, I pay no attention to those. But I do like going back and seeing 3 or 5 years, the people that go back and grade them, talk about them. I do find those to be the most interesting, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's always fun, and we talk about it over and over. The NFL just knows how to control everything. Now, towards the end of the month, end of May, I mean, we're not quite – May will be on Friday, but middle to the end of May, we'll get the schedule, correct?
Yeah, let me I actually just forgot about NFL schedule release. I got to figure out what date that is. They always stay in the news. Yeah, May 13th. So just like you said, mid-May. That's a couple days after the WNBA gets started. So, yeah, we'll have WNBA talk. We'll have NFL schedule release. Yeah, the NFL does not stay out of sports news very they're always in it. I mean, we still got the Aaron Rodgers story going on.
Yep.
Obviously, Mike Vrabel's in some trouble with PR and with the Patriots. And it sounds like Mike Tomlin might be ready to take that job if it comes down to that.
If the Patriots decide to make the change, Tomlin steps in.
That's the rumor. But if I'm Robert Kraft, I'm not getting rid of Vrabel. This is, Vrabel's allowed to do what he wants in his personal life as long as he's not harming anybody. Now, a lot of people, traditional families, will look at that and say, "Hey, that's not right. You're married, man, woman, family." But He's not breaking any laws or anything, not harming anyone. So if I'm Robert Kraft, let the PR do what they want, let everybody make fun of it. I'm sure when the season starts, there's still going to be plenty of it, but I'm going to put up with it for a coach like Vrabel. I mean, I know a lot of people might not like to hear it, but I'm not getting rid of him over this.
Well, and then, obviously Belichick end of his career didn't go as they wanted. And then these last couple of years, post Belichick have been a debacle. Then they bring him in, get it under control. He's a Patriots guy. He knows the Patriot way, and he takes him to the Super Bowl. That's very, very, very hard to move on from.
There's rumors that Amy Strunk, the owner of the Tennessee Titans, might have been the one this is the tinfoil hat coming out again. She might have been the one that leaked this information or tried to obtain it and then leak it. So he had a falling out with the Titans. Yep. And that's another theory out there in the football world. So, yeah, the rumors are that Mike Tomlin is in waiting if it comes down to that, which it's, the Rossini thing, Vrabel, it's really blown up. I knew it would, but it's not going away right now. So,
and
Patriots will have a decision to make before the season, of course.
They found some pictures from a while ago, and that's where, the Titans might come into play. Also under, surveillance or, conspiracy tinfoil hat is Rossini's husband was behind it all as well.
Yeah, could have been her husband, Vrabel's wife.
Yeah.
If it is Amy Strunk, the owner of the Titans, if it comes out that she did this, none of the top candidates every year are going to want to go to the Titans. People will still go work for them because they're high-paying jobs.
Yeah.
There's not many W-2 jobs in the world that pay NFL coach and GM and some of these positions. So those still get people to work for them. But if it comes out that that's what happened, none of the top candidates are going to work with Tennessee anymore.
Nope, not the ones that can get other jobs.
That's right. Yeah, the top candidates are going to go elsewhere, and you're going to get the bottom of the barrel, what's left. Like I said, people will still go work there because you're going to get paid a lot of money.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Trev? One thing, have you watched Caitlin Clark or done any of the preseason? How's she doing? What does she look like? What does the fever look like?
Briefly, she started out pretty well in the preseason game. Then she got a little bit cold. She looked good in that USA team that they had, the fever or whatever it was when they were playing that. Of course, the teams they were playing didn't put up much of a fight. So the fever should be pretty good. They're one of the top 3 favorites to win the title. Them, Vegas, and New York. Obviously, the fever almost made the championship last year without Caitlin Clark. So this year they should be pretty good. They picked up her option, which is no surprise there. But yeah, Monique Billings they brought in should be a good player for the fever. That's probably what DeWanda Bonner maybe should have been last year for him. We know that she decided to kind of do her own thing after a few games for whatever reason. So yeah, the fever are going to be good again this year. Hopefully Caitlin can stay healthy is the main thing.
Yeah, it gives us – we'll talk about her, but as soon as she's not playing, we don't talk about them anymore.
No, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like if she's playing, I'm going to watch. If she's not, I'm really not paying attention. I mean, Angel Reese got traded to Atlanta. I know that. We'll see if she can finally make the playoffs in year 3 of her career. The Paige Beckers, Ozzie Fudd, little drama or whatever you want to call it, because they were dating in college. Now no one really knows if they are. So there's that dynamic that we don't really get in a lot of sports that we're used to watching.
Right.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever. It's just a different aspect of the WNBA, and it's the reality of it. So that's a whole nother thing that league and players have to deal with. But yeah, the main point is if Caitlin's playing, we're going to be watching and talking about it. If she's not, we probably won't talk about the WNBA much at all.
No, that's just unfortunately the reality of our fandom. We're not great fans. We're not necessarily WNBA fans. We are Caitlin Clark fans.
Yep, no, that's right. And we got some NBA going on now. I'll probably watch the second half. I know the Lakers are playing. And like I said,
we're starting to get into the NBA and hockey. We're get past this first round, and then get to the championship finals, and then the obviously the Stanley Cup final, and then the World Championship finals. We'll be much more tuned in and then start talking a little baseball here or there. Already been a couple firings in baseball and a couple more firings. Can't believe the Mets haven't fired their guy yet. maybe they did today. I guess I shouldn't say that, but as of today, they hadn't fired their coach or their manager yet. And so
I saw they're going to put Mr. Met out there at second base.
Are they?
Yeah. see if he can turn the tide for him. I think I saw that on the Babylon Bee or whatever that satire site is. No, that'll be good. We're taking a family vacation to Chicago in July, and we are going to go to a Cubs game, I think, on a Friday night. So that'll be fun. And baseball will start heating up, and the playoffs for these other sports, like you mentioned. So there's, even during the downtime, as we call it, there's still plenty of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes the summer it's not an hour long, but that's okay too. And we do appreciate everybody tuning in. I do appreciate Steve Shetler for getting us on, and he had. I don't know if you paid attention or watch him at all, or it comes up on your Facebook feed, but he had my golf team on his Saturday morning sports show that he does in promoting local high school sports. The Sigourney track team, English Valley's golf team was there, and then we were there Saturday morning before we went to Lincoln. So I do appreciate Steve for supporting high school sports, and then especially, Ottumwa and Ottumwa golf. So, and then everybody else that supports us as well.
Yeah, big thanks to Steve. All our listeners always appreciate it. And another good week this week.
Absolutely. All right, Trev, we'll talk next week.
All righty. Have a good night.